So the first thing I did was I looked up the definition of capitalism. So I went to the dictionary, and it read that businesses and capital are left in the hands of private owners, private enterprise, not in the hands of government. And I just didn't think that was a very good definition. Didn't tell us much, as inadequate. So to build a more accurate definition, I first looked to the parts of society where capitalism was functioning. So I first looked to the pizza industry. The pizza industry has Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa Murphy's. These are some of the major chains. And these chains or businesses are competing against each other to basically get your business. So you may like Pizza Hut because you like their $10 special deal, or you may like them because they'll deliver in 30 minutes or less. Whatever it may be, you have the choice to choose what pizza chain you are going to shop at or buy pizza at. Now, these companies are basically on their own to drive business into their stores. So there's no contingency, whereas someone would bail them out. They either create a tasty pizza, a good product, and you as the consumer have the choice to buy it or go somewhere else and buy somebody else's pizza. Now, companies are allowed to set their own price. They can choose where they want to buy their ingredients for their pizza, and they can choose how they want to market it. There's no restrictions. They can use TV, radio, internet. You can go online. You can buy a pizza online. Within 15 minutes, usually they will have the pizza ready for you to pick up. If you're like me, you remember a time when Domino's just about went out of business. And I think their solution to that, their main solution, was they had a like 3 pizzas for $15. I mean, just pretty darn cheap pizza. And they put out a lot of comment cards and suggestion cards, and they got feedback. And now they're a strong, growing company again. Now, in this example, there was basically the threat of Domino's going out of business, and this encouraged them to make changes to satisfy the customer. The customer was unknowingly exercising its power over Domino's by not shopping there, and they just about shut them down. Another quick example I'll note is the computer industry, or the software and technology field. I remember when I was about 8 years ago, Dell came out with a $600 laptop, and we just thought it was so cheap. Now, in this industry, you can go down to Target, Walmart, wherever you want to go, pick yourself up a laptop for about $250. So the price has dropped dramatically. Now, what these two industries have in common is heavy competition and low regulation. Now, what all these businesses have in common is they're competing for your dollar. They're competing for you to come in their store, buy their product, and whether they do that by offering lower prices, more features, creating brand recognition, creating brand loyalty. However they do it, it is a competition for the consumer to buy their product. Now, a necessary component to competition would be allowing companies to have free trade. They have to be able to buy the ingredients for their pizza from whatever supplier they choose. You have to let the software companies buy their electronic circuitry and electronic parts from their supplier that they choose. You have to allow them to market. So free trade. I would say that to create an accurate definition of capitalism, you have to have free trade in there somewhere. So we'll just say, at this point, free trade. Now, let's say that, we'll go back to the Domino's example. Let's take a hypothetical and say that Domino's did not compensate and they went into the negative, and their only option was to declare bankruptcy. Well, capitalism would not allow for a government or a institution that uses force to come in and bail them out, provide them with money, pay off debts. Now, there must be the possibility for failure, and this is crucial in the definition as well, because what this allows is it allows for the capital that those companies were using to be freed up and distributed to more profitable companies, or a new investor can come in and buy up the capital and then start their own pizza company, and maybe that they could run it better, better business plan. So the threat of failure also has to be in the definition of capitalism. So let's look at some situations where we did not see capitalism, but we've been told that it's the failure of capitalism. Let's see if it's capitalism, or is this some Frankenstein capitalism? Most notable would be the bailout of 2008, where the U.S. government bailed out, I think, 19 major corporations. Now, these major corporations were operating at heavy losses, and the government came in and bailed them out. So let's look at the environment that these corporations were functioning in, and let's look at the effects that the bailout had on the corporations and on capitalism, on the marketplace in general. Now, we know through documentation and evidence that came out in the court cases that these companies knew that they would receive a bailout if they failed. So we know right off the bat we instantly do not have capitalism because we did not have the threat of failure. Now, the effects on that is that unperforming, non-producing companies are allowed to hold on to their capital and continue to perform poorly. What would have happened if there was not a bailout is wealthy investors would have came in, bought up the capital that was floating on the marketplace, and they would have used this to generate revenue, produce products. So in essence, this stunted marketplace growth. So we're stuck with companies that should have failed but didn't fail. So we don't get the new companies, whatever they might be, that would have been better producers. Now, I should have looked up before I started this podcast, but if you'll notice, the corporations that needed a bailout were heavy banking, and there were some others. I don't remember all of them, but banking were the main ones. So banking is the one of the most regulated sectors of the economy in America. So regulation always means restricted trade, not free trade. So there was not free trade as well. So no free trade and no threat to failure. Now let's look at some examples of why people will say that capitalism does not work. Well, the big one is monopolies. All the capitalists are going to get together and they're going to form a monopoly, and then they're just going to ratchet up the price. So let's say that Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa Murphy's all get together and they say, hey, we're all killing ourselves here trying to make these pizzas cheaper. Let's together set an agreement that we will only sell pizzas for $20 or more. Well, that's fair enough. That's a feasible scenario. Unfortunately, what this will do is this will open up more competition for the marketplace. A new company will spring up and produce the pizzas for $10, $12, $14. The consumer will once again have the choice to buy the cheaper pizza or the better pizza, whatever pizza they want. They'll still have their inexpensive option if they choose, and there's no reason why it can't be just as good quality. This will give the consumer the power to basically break up the monopoly. Now let's just say that didn't happen. It would happen because there's always somebody interested in making money, and if they can find a market where they think they can make money in, somebody's going to come in and invest. But let's say they didn't. Let's say the pizza companies raised their prices to $30 a pizza, $40 a pizza. The higher the monopoly price gets, the more incentive there is for one of the companies to break off and lower their prices just a little bit to just make a killing. So let's say you could, a properly functioning pizza joint could make money selling pizzas for $10, but they come in with a monopoly. They form a monopoly. They get all the pizza companies in the area together, and they form a monopoly on pizzas. And they ratchet the price up to $40 a pizza. The incentive for one of the companies to basically break off and charge $30 a pizza would be astronomical, and this company would just make a killing because they would get all the business because they have the cheapest. They're providing the cheapest pizzas in the area. And a side note, there has never in history been a monopoly in existence that was not subsidized or bolstered by government. Another complaint of capitalism is, I'll call it geographical price cutting. So basically what this is, let's just stick with the pizzas. Let's say Domino's, because they have pizza chains, basically, all over the U.S. at least. They could pick one city. So we'll take Chicago. So they'll go to Chicago and they'll drop the price just in Chicago by quite a bit, enough to where they would basically run out all the other competition. And because they have pizza stores all over the nation that can subsidize this price, they'll basically be able to run the competition out of business, basically through lower prices. Namely, this will affect the little guy, the mom and pop pizza store, because they won't have the capital, they won't have the funds or the resources to wait out the price cut. Now this may be so, this may happen, but it's pretty impractical in a free market, free competition society, because the minute you raise your price back up, what's going to happen is more investors are going to come in. The competition's not just going to go away. I mean, yeah, you may shut them down, but what's to stop them from just coming right back once you bring your prices back up? Well, yeah, but capitalism exploits the workers, so we at least have to regulate the corporations to prevent them from exploiting the workers. This, in essence, is a play on words. So we've already determined that capitalism rewards the consumer. So it's all about meeting the demands of the consumer. And who is the consumer? The consumer is the worker. The same person who is working in the capitalistic society is the consumer. So the equation is exploit person A to reward person B. Now that would be a bad equation, but the true equation, the one that's hidden inside of that equation, is exploit person A to reward person A. Now this is just silly, right? Now let's just hypothetically assume that there was a company that was exploiting their workers. They were not paying them enough. So I'm not sure how you come up with what enough is, but let's just say that somehow we were able to figure out that they weren't being paid enough. Well, these people are not forced to work there. They have the option to quit. They have the option to go work somewhere else. They have the option to unionize. They have the option to start their own company. It's a voluntary interaction between the company and the individual. Now, if there is proper competition in the marketplace, there should be plenty of people who are willing to put somebody to work. So back to the pizza illustration. If Pizza Hut decided to cut their bakers down to $2 an hour, a company would come in and say, hey, if I can get those workers to come work for me, then I can make more pizzas. They won't have enough employees to make their pizzas, and I will get a larger share of the market, and I can do that by offering them $4 an hour. Whatever it may be, the market will find a median for the price of an item, and it'll also find a median for what a worker should make. So if we were to make a definition of capitalism, we absolutely would have to have a free market with no regulation, no government interference, no subsidies, and the real threat and possibility of company failures. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.